Well, we're creeping ever closer to the hotly anticipated spoiler season for Compendium of Wraith, but until then, at least we have the opportunity to sink our teeth into some brand new spoilers for the next Armory deck product we have on display, and that is none other than Hala Blade Saint of the Vow. This is an Armory deck Origins product that is introducing us in earnest to Hala Blade Saint of the Vow. Hala is the teacher of Dorinthia. She is a Blade Saint, and I think she has like another title as well, but I haven't read the lore story in a long time, so I need to go back and read it. But she does have some really cool lore tied into both training and also going out and fighting alongside of Dorinthia. And this is a nice little setup to what could indeed be Monarch 3, the Threepening that's coming out maybe this summer, maybe at the end of the year. Either way, we saw Hala spoiled at the World Championship keynote, and Hala, of course, here says, action, pay 3, tap her, sharpen target sword you control. Go again. So sharpen is a new keyword that says put a +1 counter on it, onto the sword in this case. Remove all +1 counters from it at the end of the turn. And looking at this 4 intellect, 40 health warrior only hero, no talent or anything like that, you look at this and it's like, I'm pitching an entire card in order to put a +1 counter onto my sword that is going to go away at the end of the turn. Why would I ever want to do that? Well, we got a little taste spoiled by none other than Hala herself, Max Ferocity. I know her as Rachel Stoddard, aka my Secret Santa, like 3 years ago, who sent me the sweetest letter that I still have back there on my wall. That's how I know her, but you might know her as cosplayer extraordinaire Max Ferocity. She spoiled Zenith Blade yesterday. I guess at this point it would be like 2 days when you're watching this video. Either way, Zenith Blade says this: it's a warrior weapon, sword, two-handed. It attacks for 3. It is a Hala specialization, which means you cannot play it with anybody except Hala, and it says once per turn action, pay 1 to attack. Now keep that in mind, you can only do this once per turn. That is a key point, because if you are thinking that you can just load up on the subsequent text effect that you're about to read, you are sorely mistaken. It does say this: if it has been sharpened this turn, its first attack this turn gets go again. That is quite interesting. So it will become, by sharpening it via Hala Blade Saint of the Vow's ability, it will become a 4-power go again weapon swing. Now, this does cost 4 resources, so of course you could dance around that with something like a tunic, pitch a blue to sharpen, and then take tunic resource and send it. But at the same time, if you're just like looking at how I'm going to pay the workman's way on this, you pitch 2 blues, you have 2 resources floating, and you're sending 1 blade attack for 4 with go again, but you don't have the ability to swing it a second time because you can only do it once per turn. So you need cards, a critical mass of cards, that allows you to swing it more than 1 time. And so I had already started theory crafting. In fact, I was goldfishing for like a video I was going to make right now. I was goldfishing the sort of prototype of what you would need to make this function, because on the base of it, if you're just looking at these 2 cards, you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, either this is a deck that is going to be doing something like swinging the weapon and then sending a conventional attack, which you can still do. I mean, like, you have 2 resources floating, you can send CNC after this, 4 go again into CNC. You could do that, sure. Or you look at this as like, okay, I'm going to be swinging the weapon twice like a true warrior, and if I'm doing that, then I need to load up on cards that give me an additional swing. And right now, until we're about to talk about the next card, at this point, it would just be the 3 copies that you can essentially play of, Twinning Blade. You can play 3 copies of the Majestic Twinning Blade, and you can play 9 copies of Dusk Path Pilgrimage, a card from Monarch that very few people actually remember, but I have tried to make work on, several occasions, and it just hasn't really been a thing. This might be the time for that card. But we also, today, just got 2 new spoilers, one of them in card form, so let's go ahead and look at that, because this makes it all sort of fit a little bit. Edict of Steel is a warrior action. It is a red pitch card. It costs you nothing, and of course, as warrior cards often do, it blocks for 3. And it says, sharpen target sword you control. So again, you're going to put a +1 counter on it. At the end of the turn, you lose all your counters. If it has 1 or more +1 counters, you create a flurry token, and then you go again off of this. So this card on the base of it, without knowing what a flurry token does, is literally just a +1. It is just +1, though keep in mind, this is a 1-card play. You don't have to pitch into it. It's a 1-card play that enables the Zenith Blade. So where you were pitching a blue before as your 1-card pitch to be able to, get the sharpen and therefore get go again, all of a sudden this is a 0-cost, 1-power go again source. So it's a little bit more, easy to activate, easy to play out, because then at that point you only need 1 pitch or 1 resource to send the Zenith Blade in for 4 with go again. But then we look at Flurry, and the Flurry token is an aura token that says when you activate a weapon attack, destroy this, and you may attack with that weapon twice this turn. So this really puts one piece of the puzzle together, because again, if we are a 2-swing warrior where we're swinging the sword twice on any given powerful turn, we want to send this Zenith Blade for 4 with go again, and then we want to send it again after that. Something like a flurry token is perfect, because it allows us to activate on a weapon attack and pop this and then swing twice without having to jump through the extra hoops. So what would this look like on paper? Well, let's take a look. If I pop over to the screen, it should pop right up. We have Hala, Blade Saint of the Vow. We have Zenith Blade here as well on stack and on offer. And then we have a bunch of options, right? I talked about the 9 Dusk Path Pilgrimage. This is a 1 cost. It fits within the curve, because think of the curve like this. If you were to sharpen by pitching a blue, that's going to cost you 3 resources. At that point, you are then going to pay 1 extra resource, so 4, we're up to 4 now, in order to swing the blade, and then another one if we can get second swing on that blade. So we're up to 5 resources now, which means we have 1 resource left over for either an attack reaction or a card like Dusk Path Pilgrimage, which says your next weapon attack this turn gets +X depending on the color, so 3, 2, or 1. And if it hits, you can attack an additional time with the weapon. So essentially, it's just the Flurry token effect that we now know exists in Flesh and Blood. Here's the Flurry token again. There it is. You get to attack with the weapon twice, or in this case, this says attack with it an additional time. Yeah, you can actually stack Dusk Path Pilgrimages up. It's just kind of hard to do. So we have 9 copies of that. We have 3 copies of Twinning Blade, which says you can attack an additional time with target sword this turn. This is a 0-cost yellow pitch attack reaction. And then we add in the Edict of Steel, which again costs nothing, but this enables go again and the +1. So it's really interesting, because not only does this card kind of do what you want it to do, but for other like warriors in the meta, just period, all other warriors, I should just say it that way. For all other warriors, this does have some amount of utility. Like, you look at this type of card, and it makes us understand how Hala wants to go about doing her business. She wants to swing and buy essentially a second swing, and she can do that via something like a Dusk Path Pilgrimage, which I could see being in the Armory deck if there aren't more powerful cards that they give her to be able to kind of play this game. But she wants to either entice you to give her this by not blocking, or respect that the second swing is going to be coming and force you to block, right? So in a way, it's kind of like the reverse Dorinthia, the obvious heuristic from back in the day when Dorinthia was like first, on the scene in the first couple of sets. It was like, leave the first swing, block the second swing. Like, that was sort of the heuristic you played towards. You would just not respect the first swing, don't give them reprise effects, and then see what they have, see what they've pitched, and see what their range is, and stop it on the second swing if you were going to block, right? That way you would prevent the counter. Here, Hala, because of cards like this, and because of cards like Dusk Path Pilgrimage, is asking you, if you are going to stop her, you need to do it up front and on the first swing. So she does the opposite of Dorinthia in that she's asking you to play the game early in the turn rather than late, which I think is pretty cool. I think that's a fun way because obviously lore-wise, she's so inexorably tied to Dorinthia. Nevertheless, this card also can apply to all the other warriors. Like if we're looking at just Edict of Steel, I'm going to put it back on the big screen so that you can see it up a little bit closer. So let's go ahead and pop back to this screen. Oh, before we do, I should mention that cards like Second Swing are also quite good now because if you're not playing Dusk Path Pilgrimage, this Second Swing is +4. It's like a 1-for-4 in Warrior on the weapon that you also want to buff. And you can still play out things like Command and Conquer with those 2 extra resources if you just gain the go again straight up. So there's some flexibility now with cards like Flurry. But speaking of other things that you can do, if we pop back over to this screen and we show Edict of Steel, like this can play incredibly well in a hero like Dorinthia, where you're gaining those counters. Now you would lose counters at the end of the turn, but you might consider playing this on the early game and then use it to block at the, in the late game because it would force all your counters. That being said, though, it would allow you to swing an additional time. And so if there's a build or an archetype that leans back into Twinning Blade and leans back into multiple swings, you might not even have to really lean that hard. This might be a fit in there. But I really see this being a star in heroes like Bolton that can throw stuff on Raiden and just like not care that it goes away, and you can swing it a couple of times on like combo turns. And Kasai, like the first thing I thought of when I saw this card, I was like, can I make this work in Kasai? And you, honestly, I think you can. Like if you're playing a Spoils of War and you're also playing a front pump, let's say you play like Draw Swords, pitching a blue, you have an extra resource from a Vigor token you made on the prior turn, so you play Spoils of War and you have Edict of Steel. Like that is not a hard hand to put together, especially since oftentimes we are parking the spoils and arsenal in slower games so that we can get the value off of it. So if you're doing that, you throw Edict of Steel down, you have all of those front pumps on like Hot Streak, or heck, you can even put it on, like something else like the Centauri Saber. But if you put it on Hot Streak, your opponent can just give you the go again for another swing after that, and you don't have to worry too much about it because you front pumped and they're either giving you copper and maybe a gold if you activate Kasai, or they're, respecting it all and giving you cards to block with, and you just move on to the next swing, all the more likely to make copper on that attack. So I do see Edict of Steel being playable. Maybe not the best, maybe it's more of a gadget card that you fit together, but I definitely see it being playable in Kasai going forward. This is a really cool card that I think encapsulates what Hala wants to be and what she wants to do, how she wants to play the game. It shows you kind of how Hala and her weapon function together and how you can force the double swings through, while also giving other warriors something that they could try out. And it gives you the opportunity to buy this product and then choose if you want to like try that card in other warriors or just try other warriors themselves. I think that's a smart design kind of pathway to lead you into the class with just a simple card. And I think that's something that they could do going forward with more of these products, and they could have more of these types of cards in the product that are more universally usable by in this case warriors, or by pirates, or so on and so forth. There's your one pirate mention of the day. So if you made it to this point in the video, leave a comment down below and say that you heard me say pirate in a warrior video. Pirate warrior, could we ever have that? Who knows? I don't know. But I am personally quite excited. I love warrior, I love pirate, and I love wizard. Those are like my 3 favorite classes, and ranger's right behind them. So like, I mean, I'm cool with it. I'm very cool with it. If you like this type of content, you want to see more of it, let me know that in a comment down below. And of course, make the number go to the other number, because numbers going up, blah, blah, blah. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.